The following interview is being conducted as part of the Price of Freedom project by the Madison County Military Heritage Commission to inform our community of the sacrifices made by those in the military on battlefields around the world. Each veteran interviewed received an award of valor for their service to our country. We wish to thank the Huntsville School System and the ETV Broadcast Center for their help in presenting this military heritage program. Hello everyone, I'm Tom Kennemer. Welcome to our program. Today we'll be talking with U.S. Army veteran Edward Trexler. Ed served 28 years in the Army and is the recipient of the Distinguished Flying Cross for heroism while participating in aerial flight when he served as a helicopter crew chief during the Vietnam War. Ed was inducted into the Madison County Military Heritage Hall of Heroes in 2018. Ed, it's a pleasure to have you with us today, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Being with us. Yeah. Tell us a little about yourself. You're, is it Pennsylvania you're originally from? Tell us where you grew up.
Yes, I was originally born in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and my dad was with the Game Commission in Pennsylvania, so we lived in Reading, we lived in Wilkes-Barre, and then we lived in Harrisburg, outside of Harrisburg, till I graduated from high school.
Now, was your dad in the military?
He was. He was a World War II veteran, and he did not go overseas. He stayed here. He was teaching artillery, and then he became a second lieutenant in the military police corps. So he was in the service then, and my mother, she was from Emmaus, Pennsylvania, and my dad was from Macungie, Pennsylvania. So
You have brothers and sisters that served?
I do not. I was the only one.
I see.
Yeah.
And that's where you got your interest, because your dad served in the military, and you eventually going into the Army?
Yes, but probably the driving force was when I graduated from high school and went to Pittsburgh to the Institute of Aeronautics and received my Federal Aviation certification for airframe power plant and my FCC licenses. And when I got back to Harrisburg from Pittsburgh, my draft notice was there. So,
coincidence?
So I said to my dad, "What does this mean?" He said, "It means you're going."
Yeah.
And so I went to visit the recruiters, and they were all very nice. And the Army was the one that said, "If you sign up for 3 years, we'll guarantee you aviation school." So I said, "Okay." I said, "I think that's great." So I signed up with the Army for 3 years of active duty and went to Chinook training at Fort Eustis, Virginia after basic training.
What spurred your interest in Army aviation at the start, Ed, when you were like in high school or something? Or you have some friends that were in the military?
Well, my dad, he always thought I should go to college, and I really didn't know if I was college material. And he knew a lot of friends out in Pittsburgh, and they talked to him because I was always a mechanic type guy working on things.
Good with your hands.
And so I went to Pittsburgh, and that's what got me really into aviation primarily, and then went on into the military aviation career.
And what was the training like? You said in Virginia, is that where you went?
I went to Fort Eustis for advanced infantry training for Chinooks, CH-47s. And then I was fortunate that they took 10% of us, and we stayed there at Fort Eustis for advanced training. I got 4 weeks of leadership training and then 8 more weeks of advanced Chinook school while I was there. And then I became an E5. I only had 10 months in the Army, and I was a Specialist 5. So that didn't go over well when I got to the units, but that's how they worked that system, because they needed enlisted guys to work various leadership positions. So I worked that, and Chinook training was very wonderful with tandem rotor, tandem engine, and I was fortunate to get to work on a lot of different models of Chinooks.
Right. How long had you been in service, Ed, before you went to Vietnam? Were you stationed at some other base after you left Eustis?
Yes, I was diverted to New Cumberland Army Depot.
Okay.
And this was in '70. I went there, and they had an opening actually in flight test for a Chinook flight engineer. So I went over and talked with them, and they put me down there, and the one fellow that was the crew chief and flight engineer for the Chinooks and the fixed wing was leaving. He was getting out of the Army, ETSing. So they put me down there, and I knew I'd probably be there for about 8 months or whatever, and then get orders for Vietnam. So I worked there, and I was fortunate, again, with my FAA training or Pittsburgh training, because I was also crewing C-47s and C-45Js. So the DC-3s and the Beech 18s I was working on with the radial engines and so on and so forth, along with picking up 3 brand new Chinooks a month from Ridley Park in Philadelphia. So we'd pick them up, bring them back, we'd tear them down, they'd armor plate them, get them all ready for Vietnam, put them back together, we'd weigh them, test fly them, and they'd get on an airplane and leave.
You were receiving a wide range of training then in the early days of
Yes.
military career. Yeah.
I was fortunate because the training I originally received gave me a lot of background to work through the various positions I had originally with New Cumberland.
So from Cumberland, you went to Vietnam.
I did. I went to Vietnam, and I did not have a unit assignment, so I got the long bin, and every day we'd wait at Alice's restaurant there for the board to come up with your name on it.
Yeah.
And again, I was a Chinook guy for a while, so I looked and looked and looked, and finally my name came up, and it said 173rd AHC. I said, gee whiz, that's assault helicopters. So I went and talked to the person at the desk, and they said, yeah, you're a Chinook guy, but you're going to a Huey company because they need people. I said, okay, I guess that's where I'm going. So I got on a C-130 and flew all the way up to Quang Tri, and they picked me up in a little Jeep and took me over to Dong Ha. And that's where I lived in Dong Ha from February till July or August in tents up there.
It's early 70s you were there.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
In 70, I got there in 71, I got there in February and stayed there at Dong Ha. Then we moved down to Marble Mountain.
Before going on any combat missions or anything, Ed, did you go through further training, because you were in country then, in a combat zone, a war zone?
Well, they gave us training at Fort Dix. It was like Vietnam orientation training, and that was after basic training or in conjunction with basic training. But you know, the only thing that I believe that was very important to me in basic training was they taught us to work together and be together as a functioning unit. In other words, if one guy screwed up, everybody paid.
Right.
So, and you know how that works with
Right.
foot lockers or whatever. Well, then it became common for us to help each other. Okay, this guy can't make his bunk, this guy can't do his foot locker, this guy can't polish his boots. So you'd work with him to get it done. And that's what made everything, to me, so cohesive, so that when you got into another unit or another area, you still worked together as one, because that was the total force and the option.
Now, you were with the 173rd and worked primarily on Hueys, is that right? As a crew chief, or what work on the line, or what did you do at first?
Well, when I first got there, they said, you're a Chinook guy. I said, I know I'm a Chinook guy. But then they were just getting ready. Again, we lived in Tent City there, and it was a bulldozed area. So we lived there, and they said, well, you know, we have a job for you. And I said, okay. They said, you're going to be a rigger on a rigging team. I said, okay. I said, I know how to rig helicopters. So anyways, I started to be a rigger, and we'd go out with a maintenance aircraft every day. We'd fly up to Khe Sanh and support Lam Sam 719 into Laos. And of course, our unit was there, the 101st was there, and so on and so forth would come up. And every day we'd get our briefing in the bunker and then go out and do our mission. And what we would do is we'd sit and wait there with the maintenance aircraft, so that when we got a phone call that an aircraft was shot down, everybody get the coordinates, we'd jump in the aircraft, and we had our rigging bag there, and we'd take off. And there was 3 of us on the rigging team, or 4 sometimes, and we'd fly out to the area, and we'd see the aircraft on the ground, they'd land, drop us off, and they'd take off again. Which really, I didn't like that too much.
You wanted more support.
Well,
right?
it was like, okay, this airplane was just shot down here, and now I'm standing here.
Right.
So anyways, we'd do our thing and get the aircraft all prepared for pickup and do the best we could. I mean, all we had was M16s, and so we'd hide, excuse me, and I'd be since I was a Chinook guy, I'd be the one that would hook it up to the big bird. So we'd be in contact with a big bird, and the big aircraft would come in, either a Chinook or a 53. We had some Jolly Green Giants come in, and I'd be on top of the Huey with the donut rings, and I'd hook it up, and I'd jump off the side, and they'd pick it up and take off. And
You'd really be a target, right?
Well,
yeah.
and
You could look at it that way, right?
I wasn't a small target,
right?
So we rendezvous together, and the aircraft would fortunately come back and pick us up, and we'd take off and go back, and of course get another rigging bag and wait for the next phone call.
Yeah.
But I did that, and as I was doing that, I thought, as I mentioned, I really didn't enjoy being on the ground. I always liked being in the air.
Yeah.
So every night when I get back, I'd start learning about Hueys, which was only a quarter as much as a Chinook, but I'd learn about them.
Yeah.
And then I had the opportunity to become a crew chief on the maintenance aircraft.
Okay.
And that was called Friar Tuck, which is on my hat right here.
Yeah.
It says Friar Tuck, and that was a maintenance aircraft for the Robin Hoods, because the 173rd Assault Helicopter Company was the Robin Hoods.
This is a hat you wore in Vietnam.
And that was my hat that I got, yes, in Vietnam. And fortunately, it's hung around. I guess my mom and dad, Pennsylvania Dutchmans, taught me how to save things. So
took good care of it.
I took good care of it, yes.
Let's talk about some of the, you mentioned that you lived in Tent City and a bulldozed area there. What kind of entertainment did you have? And would you guys, put up a sheet and have a movie occasionally, or that sort of what you had? Maybe brought in some beer occasionally, right? That would.
Yeah, we had some Pabst Blue Ribbon and Mabel Black Label beer, but there wasn't a lot to do there. And when we first got there, I mean, we didn't even have showers. We didn't even have outhouses. So what they did was they built a big shower for us, which was nothing but pallets and wooden sides with a big tank on top. And they'd fill that with water, and then it had a spigot that we'd turn on, and that would run down on us. But before that, we had nothing but the garbage cans with the submersion heaters, and that we just bathe ourselves that way. And once in a while, we would get a movie, and they would put the sheet up on the tent wall, and then everybody get to watch the movie. But again, the one thing that I think about where we talk about cohesiveness with everybody working together is we had a motor pool there, and what we would do is my buddy and I lived in the one little tent, and we had a Mermite can that was there, which you could put food in, but we didn't. We put beer in it. And every day the guys from the motor pool would make an ice run. And when I came back at night, 6, 7 o'clock at night, there was ice in the Mermite can on top of the beer, and it was all ready to go. So they took care of us.
That was outstanding.
That was exactly right.
Made your day,
Yes, sir.
How about the food? Was the food,
It was okay. I mean, we had some good people. I mean, it was a mess tent, and probably the thing I ate the most when I was up there the whole time was sea rations. We had the small boxes of sea rations, and I used to like the lima beans and ham, and a few other. We all had our favorites, so we would swap them out. But that's pretty much what I ate quite a bit.
This plum cake or something was always pretty good, or something. It was something that had a sweet taste. It was, you wouldn't order it maybe back in the States, but it was good there.
It was, yes, and they were quite old, but they were still very good. I mean, they were in little cans, and we had our little can opener. We would open them up and heat them up, and it was very good. I mean, I enjoyed that, but once in a while I get to eat up there in the mess hall or the mess tent. Yeah.
How often did you get letters from back home? Of course, we didn't have email and Facebook back then. How often did you get a letter from home?
What I used to try and do was send out at least a note once a week to my parents, and let them know that I was functioning and everything was moving forward. I didn't talk about.
You weren't married at that time, were you?
No, I was not. I didn't talk about what was going on or anything like that. Just said, hey, we're doing good. Everybody's happy, and wish everybody the best. And that would be about it for every week. I mean, you probably could have used the old memo machine and run them through there, but I just wrote them, printed them out, and sent them home. And my dad and mom would send me a message, and my cousins, and my one buddy in Pittsburgh, his sisters used to always send me little cards and things, and it was really nice to keep in touch with people. But because all we did was put our AKO number on there, we didn't use postage stamps for our mail, and then they'd send them back to us. But
did the CO or top sergeant ever tell you guys, that certain things that you can say when you're talking, when you're sending a letter back home? Don't tell them where you're at. Talk about too much what the situation is. Did you have any regulations about that sort of thing?
I don't remember too much about them giving us that kind of guidance, but again, I never sent it out to anybody what I was. I mean, I might have said I was in Dongha or I was at Marble Mountain or wherever, but didn't mention anything, like I said, of what we were doing. Just as long as they knew I was okay, it was great. The only time that I worked anything where you could not send anything back was when I worked Command and Control North, CCN. And that's where you signed a paper saying you wouldn't tell anybody where you went and what you did for 10 years. So that I had to do, but like I said, I wouldn't even tell them where I was in other areas, so it was good.
Ed, I'm sure you formed lasting friendships in the service. You still stay in contact with a lot of your friends that you made over there, as well as your 28-year career?
Well, Tom, it took me a long time to go back to thinking about those days. I mean, I met a lot of wonderful people. I got to work with a bunch of wonderful people. We helped save each other and get through the mission. But after, it must have been 30 years, I started receiving guys would send me things about the Vietnam helicopter crew members.
Right.
So I joined that organization, and my wife and I started going. It was the first reunion we went to was in Atlanta, and I got to see people I hadn't seen for 32 years. A bunch of the pilots go to the reunion, so I got to see one of my buddies, Dave Kellen. He was a platoon leader, Captain Kellen, and so yeah, it was great to start seeing those guys. And now we try and get together every year for the reunions.
Right.
And in fact, this one's in Augusta, Georgia this year. My wife and I are planning to go.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Visit everybody and get a chance to see old friends.
It's a lot of the same stories, but it's good to stay in touch, isn't it? Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that I guess we learned. I learned, I guess most people did also, that you can talk about a lot of things with the military and things like that, but if people haven't lived through it, they just aren't really into it.
Right. Yeah.
So what I tried to do was stay away from that, and now this opportunity I have now gives me a chance to share things with people that I did not always have a chance to share things with that happened quite a long time ago.
Good. It's an enjoyable time to be with them.
It
with
is.
old friends. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of people ask me, before I do these interviews, is have the veterans describe the countryside that you were in and what the country looked like. I think that's always important. What you were in quite a bit of served, Laos and as well as Vietnam. Describe the countryside for us.
Well, up north it was pretty mountainous.
Yeah.
Mountainous terrain. We always would go in and like I said, Quezon was pretty much a plateau that they just flattened out top of a mountain and everybody was in there. But a lot of that area was very much mountainous and rugged terrain. There weren't a lot of flat spots to land on. When we dropped people off, a lot of times we would have the Air Force would come in with daisy cutters or whatever and cut tree areas out for landing zones, and we could get 2 ships in there and get out and so on and so forth. But there wasn't a lot of open terrain up in the northern part of South Vietnam. When I got down south, it was a little bit different to Marble Mountain. Then it started to open up a little bit. But again, they still had their hills and plateaus and rivers, yes.
Gets pretty warm over there too, doesn't it?
It got quite warm over there, yes it did.
Ed, as we mentioned earlier, you received the Distinguished Flying Cross for heroism while serving in Vietnam. Tell us about the battle or combat action that led to you receiving this award.
Well, it was one of those days, a normal day. It was the 11th of March of 1971. And we went up to Quezon, rendezvoused up there, and we were waiting for a phone call to go pick up downed aircraft or rig it and so forth. So I went out and rigged up this airplane and got it hooked up and jumped back in our aircraft, and we were just taking off, leaving, when we got a message that one of our sister ships from the 173rd was shot down and they needed help getting out of there. So, excuse me, we went over and it was at LZ Brown, which was one of the LZs over in the western side. And we're coming across the one ridge and into the little bit of a valley, and then getting ready to land, and we started receiving fire.
And you're in a Huey.
Yes, I'm a Huey, and I was a crew chief.
Right, okay.
So we started returning fire, and all at once the pilot lost control of the aircraft, only in the collective axis, I guess, fortunately or unfortunately. So he could still control the height of the airplane with a cyclic. And here's the LZ up here, and we're coming in this way, and this goes straight up the hill. So fortunately, these pilots did a cyclic, aft cyclic, slowed the airplane down, and it slid up the hill and tore the skids off, tore the rotor blades, came forward, did not hit the guys in the front seat. And after the brush stopped moving past me, because I was in the well on the left side, we looked around and assessed what was going on, and everybody was alive. So we started getting everybody out, and the one pilot was hurt a little bit in his leg, so I got him out and sort of suggested to everybody, which we always did, was rendezvous in the front of the airplane, and we'll move out from there. So we got all of our guns together. I got as much guns and ammo as I could, and moved this pilot around, and then we knew where we had to go, so we started walking up the hillside to get to this LZ Brown. And I got the transponder out of there and the secure radio out of there, and we drug everything up there and got out. And started making calls. Now there's 2 aircraft there, and there's 2 crews plus our rigging team on the ground. So we waited and waited, and finally they got the message that we were friendlies. So they sent 2 aircraft in, and they landed there and picked us up. I mean, they didn't land, they just sort of hovered. We all jumped in and got out of there. Right. And that's what happened that day on the 11th of March. But I was very fortunate to get through that along with everybody else, because it was a very exciting ride from the time we knew we didn't have complete control of the aircraft till we hit the ground and lived through it.
How long was this ordeal? I mean, before you were actually picked up by the other?
We were on the ground probably about, I'm going to say 50 minutes. It seemed like 50 days, but it was about 50 minutes we were on the ground, because they didn't really know that the only ones that were flying by were the Cobras that were supporting our air actions, and they didn't know that we were on the ground until they finally got word to them, because LZ Brown was pretty much just a base for the South Vietnamese guys up there. Right. And then when they finally figured it out, then they came in and got all of us out of there.
While you were trying to go up the hill and get to LZ Brown, did you receive fire and have to stop and return fire?
We did not receive fire, but I could hear the brush rustling down below us at the bottom of the hill. So evidently whoever was shooting at us was down there. And when we got up there, we all built a secure area facing that way in case we'd have to return fire. But we did not receive fire then after that, no.
I see. Ed, who or what helped prepare you to take the actions you did that day in combat? Was it your upbringing, the training that you had received?
I'd like to think it was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I was the only child, but I spent a lot of time with my aunts and uncles and grandparents and cousins, and we always took care of each other. I mean, that was one thing of growing up. We were little, and we'd go ice skating, and we'd go fishing, and we'd do whatever, and we always took care of each other, and we're one happy family. And then when I got in the military, again, in basic training, they tried to teach us cohesiveness. And of course, the mission is #1 priority. But I used to say, to complete the mission, you got to take care of yourself and your buddies. Otherwise, you're not going to complete that mission. So that's one thing that they again reinforced in me. And I was fortunate because every time, whatever crew I was with or whatever mission I was on, we always performed in that manner and took care of each other. And it might have been a flight of 2 aircraft, it might have been a flight of 20 aircraft, but we were still together as one. Yes.
That's what's important.
Very much.
Describe what it's like to serve in a war zone. The thoughts you have of possibly being killed or wounded during, I mean, I'm sure your thoughts, those thoughts were going through your mind when you were on the ground in that situation on that day.
Well, I think back of it from today, and you know, I don't know if I was not thinking about it or whatever, but I tried to stay so focused on again what we had to do to take care of ourselves and our brothers that you really didn't. You put that on the back burner as far as thoughts that you have to process all the time, because otherwise you're convoluting what you have to do to take care of yourself and your brother. So I tried not to think too much of that. Although while I was there, and this was just in Dong Ha, we lost 10 of my buddies, and of course they had memorial services. I still have the little cards at home that they had with their names on it and so forth. And that's something that's in your mind, but you don't want it to be in the front part. You got to keep everything else in the front to take care of everybody in the mission. Yeah. Yes.
Ed, is it okay to be afraid and scared? Is that all part of being in combat?
Well, I think that's just part of life's process. There's people that are obviously, I would say, scared and afraid today. And it's, again, part of that mental thought that you always have, but you don't want to keep it on the front. You want to move it off to the side a little bit. But again, every time that something happens, like when we got shot down, those things really come through your mind. But again, what do I have to do to try and maintain myself and my brothers from getting killed? So that's what you have to put in the front row. And it worked out pretty good.
Yeah. How did your experiences in combat affect your outlook on life?
Again, I thought I had pretty good upbringing between my entire family, from my grandparents on up. And I think that what it did was it allowed me to focus more on what you want to do, what you need to do, and how you're going to do it. Because when you run into all those priorities, you have to keep those priorities working to get to the end of the process, whatever that is. Because you're going to have more than just one thought going when you're working towards achieving one particular goal, but you can't throw them away. You have to keep them in there and make it all work. And I think that's what happened, and it works out well for you, even today. I mean,
basically, it's trying to think positive, I guess.
Right, and working. Look at what you have to work with. This is what I have to work with today. This is what I have to use today, or try and accomplish today. And how am I going to get from A to Z and make it happen properly?
When you got back home, did you have any problems that were related to serving in combat?
I did not really. I had it. My ankle was damaged in one of the in that mishap. But again, they took care of me at Quang Tri at the little hospital there, and I was back flying in 2 days. But they gave you one of those supports. And when I came home, I had everything checked out at the VA there in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, and things have been going rather well for me. I mean, I've had some things moving into me, but that's just the way it happens with us, and so on and so forth. But no, I've been great. Yeah, it's great.
Now, I failed to ask you earlier, did you receive the Purple Heart for your injuries, any injuries during that combat
I did
action?
not.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Ed, how do you feel when people call you a hero, when they read about or hear what you did in combat? How does that make you feel?
Well, I again, I think it goes back to a lot of the things we've already discussed, Tom, where we were just doing those things we needed to do to take care of ourselves, our fellow soldiers, to complete the mission. Hero was not a term that was used, and certainly we didn't use it in those days. I mean, it was just your job and part of growing up. So I really didn't think of it that way, other than, again, doing my job. And again, fortunately, we all got out of that situation, which was a good thing. So.
And for those that didn't come back, they're the real heroes.
They are the real heroes, yeah. I mean, those guys in those days, and you know as well as I do, they were high school to flight school.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 20 then. I was an old guy.
Yeah.
Because I'd gone to Pittsburgh for 2.5 years. But a lot of the guys were right out of high school, and they were hit the ground running.
Yeah.
That's what you had to do.
Yeah. You often wonder, would you do it all over again?
If I had to do it again, that's what I would do, yes. We live in a wonderful country, and it's a place that I've had the good fortune of growing up in and being in for my entire life. I've been to various places, but it's just part of what we did and what we're supposed to do to support our nation and the people within our nation.
Well, that kind of leads into my next question here. There were protests against the Vietnam War, Ed, when you served. Did you encounter any of the protests? And if so, did you? How did it make you feel if you received any of the, or involved in any of the protest action?
Well, probably the worst I was personally involved with was when I got ready to come home. We left Red Beach out of Da Nang there, and excuse me, we flew back to Washington, Fort Lewis, Washington. Flew back there, and what they told us there, they briefed us and said, look, don't wear your military uniform when you go home. And I thought, okay. So we all changed into whatever civvies we had, which weren't much. And then I went from Fort Lewis, or Seattle, Washington, back to Pennsylvania. But I only encountered it was in one of the airports, and I can't tell you if it was Chicago or which one it was, where people were pretty excited about stopping the war and killing the people and so on and so forth. So that was probably the most first-class experience I had with protests. Otherwise, I tried to stay away from it as much as I could and not get involved in it.
Right. I'm sure you have mixed feelings about serving in a war, but what's your favorite memory from serving in Vietnam or in your 28-year career in the Army?
Well, probably the most wonderful thing for me was meeting all the fine soldiers I got to meet.
Yeah.
And working with those soldiers, and again, we all got to share thoughts on, well, what do we do here, or this is the way I've done it before and it works, and we'll do it this way, and so on and so forth. So probably the best thing that came out of that entire thing for me was getting to share thoughts with brethren and everybody who had the receivers turned on, then listening and transmitting, so we would all gain valuable information from each other, which helped us to I think helped us live through some of the bad days.
Right.
Yes.
Have you been back to Vietnam, and if not, do you have a desire to go back?
I have not been to Vietnam. I went back to Thailand. Was over in Thailand. I was working here in the Black Hawk helicopter office, and I was doing foreign military sales, so I went over to Thailand and spent time there, which I hadn't been to Thailand since 1971. And that's as close as I've gotten to South Vietnam was Thailand, and it was enjoyable. I mean, Thailand changed a lot since from 71 to 2003 or 4, whenever I was there. But it was nice and enjoyable, and I had a good time there and worked with their military with helicopters, so it was good.
Ed, tell us about your family. You and your wife, Georgiana, have been married, I think, was it 46 years now?
It will be this July,
Fantastic.
46. We were married in July the 14th in 1973.
Yeah.
And we had our first child, Melanie, in 75, and our second child, Joshua, in 78. And we're fortunate because Georgianne always took care of the kids and the house and me and everything.
Yeah.
And of course, I was not home quite a bit when I was with the Eastern Army National Guard Aviation Training Site. And I traveled quite a bit when I started to teach Blackhawks, so I was not home. Maybe I get home once every 4 weeks. And every time I got home, everything was in order and everybody was happy, so we did well. But yeah, Georgianne, she's been outstanding, wonderful wife and mother, and now she's a grandmother.
Yeah, you got grandchildren. Tell us about your grandchildren.
I have 2 grandchildren, Ty and Lincoln. And Ty's going to be 10 and Lincoln's going to be 4. And they live here in Huntsville, and as my son and daughter live here in Huntsville. So Grandma Georgianne and I get to visit the grandchildren and have a good time visiting them. And I try and share a few thoughts with them, not too many because they're still into different things today.
Right.
But it's wonderful. I mean, it's outstanding. They're very healthy, and we've been blessed. Yeah.
Think your grandson would be as good a golfer as his grandfather, or?
Well, it's like my son. When he was younger, we sent him for lessons, and he started beating the old man at golf. So I'm sure if the grandson's interested and he gets lessons, he'll start beating grandpa pretty quick.
You were telling me you're a avid golfer, so
I try to
pass that along a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Ed, being in the military, you have to move around a lot, different duty stations. Talk about the effect that that can have on your family.
Well, it's like I said, we were fortunate. We only lived in 3 places. I had, when I was in Pennsylvania with the Guard after active duty, I went back on active duty with the training site there in Pennsylvania, and we lived outside of HoH, Pennsylvania for quite a few years. And then in '93, we moved to North Carolina because I was never at home. So we moved to North Carolina and had the opportunity to live in a condominium there, so it was fortunate I didn't have to worry about the yard work and so on and so forth. So when I got to come home, then we get to play golf. My son and I play some golf and get to visit and have a good time. But as I said, with teaching Blackhawks, I was either teaching at a simulator for the first 2 weeks, or I was teaching when they were going through their flight phases, because I was an aviation maintenance warrant officer teaching the Blackhawk systems. Yeah.
Ed, you're a Mustang. Explain to our audience, some of the younger viewers maybe not know exactly what that means. You came up through the ranks. Talk about that. You started out enlisted and, of course, retired as a W04.
Yeah, I was fortunate. Again, like I said, I received my Spec 5 with only 10 months in the Army, and of course that didn't make other people happy. So when you did get to a unit, they didn't feel you were worthy, and they wanted to see if you had to go back to a Spec 4. But I was fortunate that I had good training and mentorship, and I was a Spec 5, and then when I was in the Guard, they made flight engineers E6s. And that's when they were going from the specialist positions over to the hard stripe rank. So I became a staff sergeant, and I was flying, excuse me, in the Chinooks, and then we got sky cranes. So I was a flight engineer in both of those, and I became the state standardization flight engineer for Chinooks and sky cranes at Pennsylvania. And then moved on to the Eastern Training Site and became a warrant officer. Got my warrant, W1, and then in the training site I worked my way from W1 to W4, which is what I retired at in 1999. Yeah, it was wonderful.
What advice, Ed, would you give to young people who may be considering a career in the military?
Well, again, it all depends on, to me, it's focusing on what you enjoy or what you think you're going to enjoy, or what you've been trained to do, if you enjoy that.
Right.
I mean, there's some people, excuse me, there's some people today that have been trained in areas that they don't enjoy. Excuse me, but the big thing is that I was fortunate because I had that training, went into the Army, went into helicopters, stayed in helicopters and fixed wing forever. And today's young people, that's important, because the one thing that my dad used to try and tell me is, you know, you're going to go to school for 12 years, you're going to go to school for 4 years or 3 years, and then you're going to work. Right. And you're going to work for the rest of your time. And whatever you do in work, you need to try and be happy and enjoy that work.
Good advice.
So, and that's what he, you know, it sort of stuck in the back of my head. It wasn't in the front row, but it stuck there. Unfortunately, again, it worked out for me because I stayed with aviation and had a good opportunity to expand my knowledge and understanding, and then get to share it with others. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned the Black Hawk program. That's how you and Georgianne wound up here in Huntsville, right?
Yes, we did. We moved here, and they moved our household goods from North Carolina the week after Thanksgiving. And I was already here working, and we came over in July and bought a home in North Madison in the county, and then I started working there and living I had a little suite here in Huntsville for a while, and then moved everything, and then the children migrated over later on. But I started working with Black Hawk and foreign military sales until 2005, and then I moved into the recapitalization program with the Black Hawk office, and I was a tech lead for the recapitalization program, which at that time we were upgrading the airframes to mitigate lots of cracks and issues.
Right.
And then I started the A to L upgrade program where we upgraded the A models into the L model Blackhawks. And then till I finished working, I was doing L to L recap, and we did the digitized L Blackhawk.
Interesting career.
It was
You're
exciting.
a helicopter guy, right? Ed?
I was and enjoyed it. I had about 48 years
Wow.
dabbling in helicopters, and again, I'd like to think that I learned a lot from a lot of people that wanted to share information, and again, I tried to share that information with others that wanted to learn also. It worked out well.
You and George Ann and family have settled here in the Huntsville area, but do you still get back up to Pennsylvania occasionally to visit relatives, see old friends?
We do. I have a couple cousins left in Pennsylvania. My wife has an aunt, lives in Pennsylvania, and a couple of her cousins, and her sister lives in North Carolina, or Virginia. But yeah, we try and get up there once a year, and I tell them I'm going to come like May, June, and July when it's not snowing in Pennsylvania, because I don't want to shovel snow anymore.
Right.
But yeah, I get to try and visit my cousins in Emmaus and Allentown, and my wife's relatives live outside of Harrisburg. It's wonderful. It's a long drive, but since I'm retired, it can take 2 days. It doesn't matter.
Well, you may be retired, but you're still pretty active. You mentioned you love to play golf. Talk about some of the other things that you're involved with.
Well, I try to stay involved with the different organizations and help out a little bit with the crew members, and we're going to try and have a reunion with the Robin Hoods in Huntsville this year, and I'm trying to help those guys with the process. We'll see what happens, but hopefully the Robin Hoods. We've only had 3 reunions, but Rich Johnson's down at Fort Rucker, and he's been the spearheading the reunions, which is a good thing, because we just hadn't been together forever except when we saw each other at pilot or crew member reunions. So that worked out well, and I try and get out, and my wife and I like to go to AUSA functions and so on and so forth, and I do work, I guess you could call it work at the golf course on a Monday morning over at Sunset Landing by the airport, so that's a lot of fun. And
What is your job there? What do you do?
I'm a marshal or a starter there.
You have arresting powers?
No, I don't have any arresting powers. I just try and, we make sure everybody keeps moving and is courteous and kind, and it works out really well, and it's a lot of fun for me because I get to see guys from Redstone Arsenal and in the military I hadn't seen for years, so it's a lot of good things happening with that.
That's great.
Enjoyable.
Talk about the experience of being inducted into the Hall of Heroes. What did that mean to you, Ed?
Well, it was surprising to me at first. Again, I didn't know that I was a hero, but again, the organization itself is outstanding to support the soldiers that worked hard for one another and that sacrificed whatever they sacrificed, but lived through it. And to me, when I got the phone call to be inducted, I talked to them and I said, "This is really amazing to me, but it's truly an honor to be accepted into the fraternity of these wonderful individuals that we're called heroes, but again, we're individuals that just did what we were supposed to do and take care of one another and complete the mission."
What would you, this is going to be my final question to you, what would you like for those watching this interview, especially our young people, to learn from your military experience?
Well, I think it's pretty much what we just talked about a little bit, is that the military gives you the tools and allows you to perform just like a regular job does. And what you have to do is you have to take those tools and you have to mold all those learning experiences and processes into what you're doing in today's world, whether that be in the service or not in the service. But again, it's very important for them to do that, and if they can find their field within the military, which I don't think that there's not a civilian field that's not today connected with the military fields, that they can really enhance themselves and build that foundation of knowledge and understanding in the military of what they need to do as they move forward, along with making sure that they can communicate, coordinate, and understand everybody's process as they work through their process to complete that goal.
Yeah. Sounds like good advice, Ed.
That's
I'm a man of experience.
It's one of those things that we've taught each other.
Yeah.
Yes, works well.
Ed, thank you, sir, for participating in our oral history interview and series and allowing us to preserve your military experience for the people of this community. And thank you, sir, for your
Well, thank you
service
very
to our
much.
country.
It was my pleasure, and I truly appreciate it, and I'm honored to be part of this program and the Hall of Heroes.
We're
It's
honored to have
outstanding.
you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, if you'd like more information regarding this interview or any interview in our Military Heritage Series, please visit the Madison County Military Heritage Commission website at mcmhc.us. I'm Tom Kennemer. Thank you for being with us.